Good evening. This is kind of unique. We're back into like the remote types of our meetings. My name is Jack Jovan. I'm the town manager for the town of Southbridge. We're joined today by Allison, who's going to give a presentation, and this is a public meeting, not a public hearing. This is in regards to the Southbridge community electricity. This program came about because of the town council several years ago asked for us to take a look at community electricity. It's a program where we group together everybody in the community to find the best available rate for electricity and push that out to our residents. So anyway, Allison is here to answer any questions. There'll be some Q&A. She'll give a presentation. And the town of Southbridge does not receive any revenue from this. This has nothing to do with the town of Southbridge or the operation of the town of Southbridge. I just want to make that clear. This was just a program that was pushed out to assist residents in getting the best electricity rates that they possibly can. Every resident has the opportunity, if you're a National Grid customer, it was an automatic enrollment through National Grid, and you have the opportunity to opt out at any time, and she'll go through that program. But again, the town of Southbridge, there is no staff here in the town of Southbridge that operates this program. There is no money that comes to the town of Southbridge. This is purely a program that is a benefit to residents to help you save money on your electricity. So every resident has the opportunity to do whatever they want with electricity. We're not telling you where to get it. I know I had a lot of questions about this is similar to our trash program. Has nothing to do with the trash program, has nothing to do anything similarities to it. No questions tonight will be answered about trash. Just to make that clear, I just want to make sure, because I'm sure some people will have those questions. We're only here to talk about the Southbridge community electricity, and Allison's here with the information Q&A. So she'll do a presentation. It will take about 15 minutes. Residents and those that are online will have the opportunity to ask any questions of her. All we would ask, if you come up, just come to the mic and pick it up so they can talk, so people in the audience can hear you, as well as the people at home, because this is being recorded. So you'll have an opportunity on YouTube or whatever cable access platforms that you use to watch this again. Okay, so I'll turn this over to Allison. So thank you for being here this evening.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me, and thanks for coming out. My name is Allison McNeil. I am a client manager on the Good Energy team. Good Energy is the consultant that the town of Southbridge selected to develop this aggregation program and also operate it. It's been a long time coming since we got Department of Public Utilities approval for this program, so we're so excited to introduce this to you tonight. This program is launching this January, so we're going to walk through the operations of the program, what it'll be like to participate, what the supply rates are, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you can participate, change your options, or not participate. And then we'll open it up to Q&A, and we'll open it up to Q&A online as well. So feel free to put questions in the chat as you have them, and anything we don't answer, we'll open up at the end. All right, so the purpose of this program, these aggregation programs, are to use the community buying power of all residents, as well as any businesses that have electricity accounts in Southbridge, to go out and find a supplier that could provide us additional alternative electricity options. So that means different supply options, more renewable energy options, and also a stable rate. So these programs are run all over the state. There's about 175 of them active in Massachusetts. Good Energy runs about 70 of them, and these are really great programs for residents. Usually we can secure some pretty great rates, but also really great terms. So these are usually 12, 24, 36-month terms, whereas you might see with Eversource, National Grid, or Unitil, these are 6-month terms that change every 6 months. So the purpose of this program is to provide you greater electricity options that are stable. And I'll also just note that, we run 70-some programs, so we can't say that savings are guaranteed because the utility rates change every 6 months, but these have proved great success for the communities that we serve. All right, so after receiving DPU approval, Southbridge went out to bid. We went through a competitive bidding process. with qualified suppliers in the state who could supply electricity for the entire load of the town, and chose Direct Energy as the supplier. Direct Energy will offer 3 different supply options for a term of 35 months. So that's starting this January, and it'll go through December of 2027. All right, so if you participate in this program, the only thing that will change for you is the supply section of your National Grid bill. So we'll look at a copy of a sample bill later on, but each bill has 2 portions. There's a delivery side and a supply side. The delivery side is all the delivery charges, so actually delivering the electricity to your home, maintaining the wires and poles, and the supply side is the actual per kilowatt hour that you use. So this is just the supply side that's changing here, and it's just where you get your electricity and how much it costs that would be changing if you participate. Here's all the things that stay the same if you choose to participate. Just as I said, the delivery portion stays exactly the same. So right now, your National Grid delivery portion is calculated, all of National Grid's little charges against each kilowatt hour that you used that month. That stays exactly the same, that whole section. National Grid will also continue to deliver all the delivery services. So that's giving you your electricity, maintaining poles and wires. If your power goes out, you'll still call them for storm outage response. And you'll still pay just 1 bill each month to National Grid. So nothing changes with that. They still do all the account management. So if you have questions about your bill, you'd still call National Grid. Additionally, if you use budget billing or you have a low-income discount, that is unaffected. You can still maintain your payment plan, and your discount still gets applied to the entirety of the bill. If you have solar on your home, you participate in net metering, or you have other solar benefits, those are also unaffected. Oh, I see I've got one more person to let in the call, and this is a juicy part, so let me let them in real quick. All right, so here's our 3 program options. We've got Southbridge Basic, Standard, and Plus. So these 3 options were developed to have the Basic be the most economic. This is the kind of the similar bar to what National Grid's providing. The Plus on the other end is the cleanest electricity we could supply. And then the Southbridge is kind of a mix in the middle. So it still, keeps some economic savings, but also adds in a little extra renewable energy. So the rates here are 12.6 rate, 13.040, and 13.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So these are just the supply rates. This is what you'll be paying per kilowatt hour if you participate. So the Standard and the Plus add some renewable energy to the electricity that you'd be provided. Really all that means is that for each month of your usage, if you're in the Standard, we're sourcing an extra 10% of your usage from renewable energy projects. And if you're in the Plus, we're sourcing up to 100% of that usage from renewable energy projects. That's a fancy way of saying solar or wind or hydro projects that are all within New England. So they're generated here in New England and put back on the New England grid. Okay, we'll keep moving on. But what I'm showing here is our 3 product options, the Basic, Standard, and Plus. Thank you, at their different rates. And you'll see that the price premium in between each one is directly correlated with how much additional renewable energy is included in there. So we have a state standard in Massachusetts that says that for each generator in the state of electricity, X amount of their generation has to come from renewable energy projects. So to help Southbridge get a little cleaner, but also offer residents and businesses different options, we have a couple of different tiers of adding renewable energy. We created the Standard to be the default, so it's a little win-win in between each product. And so if you are eligible to be automatically enrolled, this is the product that you'd be automatically enrolled into, is that Southbridge Standard. The Basic and the Plus options are optional products, so if you wanted to enroll in those, you'd have to affirmatively elect and take action to enroll in those. But the Standard is our default, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means in a minute. All of these rates begin in January of 2025 on your meter read and go through December of 2027. I'll just take a moment to also look at the comparison, National Grid is on the right side of the screen. They're at a 16 cent per kilowatt hour rate. They change every 6 months, so we can't guarantee that we'll always be below them, but right now all of our rates are at least 3 cents below. Okay, so we can take a second to just talk about that renewable energy I was talking about. As a part of this program, we've partnered with a nonprofit called Green Energy Consumers Alliance, and they provide for us renewable energy credits from these projects. The map is a little small here, but what you're looking at is New England, and these are the maps of all the projects that they're sourcing these renewable energy credits from. So that's like wind farms, solar farms, there's some offshore wind, there's some hydroelectric and some anaerobic digestion plants that we're getting these from. It's really important to be partnering with them. They're choosing credits, or they're purchasing credits on our behalf that were generated in New England and put back on the New England grid. So the reason this is important is because it creates demand for renewable energy and the growth of that market here. Okay, let's talk about participating. So participation is absolutely voluntary. You do not have to participate if you don't want to. There's no penalty or fee to opt out of the program. And how you participate is a little bit different based on who you currently have selected as your supplier. So here's a sample bill for National Grid. So it's a little tiny, but what we're looking for is on page 2 of your bill, you'll probably have a supply services section, and there will be a listed supplier there. If you see National Grid listed there, that means you are on National Grid Basic Service. If you see anyone else listed on that line, that means you've already chosen a third-party supplier. So first we're going to talk about participating if you have National Grid Basic Service as your supplier. And just for reference, this is most people in town. So anyone who is on basic service is eligible to be automatically enrolled in the standard, Southbridge standard, on their January meter read. We mailed a letter last month explaining all the pricing options and all the actions you could take to change your product or not participate if you didn't want to. And if you take no action and you are on National Grid and you got this letter, it means you'll be automatically enrolled on your January meter read in the Southbridge standard rate. So if that's you and you're on basic service and you got this letter, it means you're slated to be automatically enrolled. If you don't want to participate, you can, before December 14th, opt out before the program starts, and you'll have never participated, and you'll never be a part of the program. If you opt out after December 14th, you'll still be removed from the program, but it's not guaranteed that we can get you out before that first meter read happens in January, so you may take a month to get off of the program. But we are doing all of this outreach right now and sent these letters in advance of this date so we could make sure that everyone has a chance to weigh their options out, ask their questions, and see if they want to be involved. There's no penalty or fee to opt out of the program, and you can do this at any time. If you'd like to participate for a few months, 6 months, a couple of years, and then opt out, you absolutely can. Similarly, if you'd like to opt out now, not participate, and give it a go in 6 months, you can return to the program. There's no penalties or fees. That's something that the town baked into its contract with the supplier to make sure that you have the flexibility to change. Okay, if you're on basic service and you would like to choose either the basic or the plus option, not the standard, there's a couple ways you can do that. You could go to our website, this is southbridgecommunityelectricity.com, or you could call our supplier, Direct Energy, at the number on the screen. Their contact information is also on the website and on the handouts. Any of these ways, you could give them a call and ask to change your product. Similarly, if you'd like to leave the program, you do not want to participate, you could, there's a couple ways you can, one, go to the program website, call the supplier again, or in the letter that we mailed you, we included an opt-out card. That opt-out card can be signed and returned, and when our supplier receives that, they'll make sure that you're removed from the program. Okay, if you had anyone else listed there other than National Grid, you have already chosen your own supplier. This could be something like Inspire, or it even could be Direct Energy themselves. If you've chosen your own supplier, you are not eligible to be automatically enrolled, but you absolutely can take action to participate. So if you would like to participate in the program, we'd recommend, if you already have a third-party supplier, that you double-check with that supplier to make sure that they don't have any exit fees or penalties for leaving their supply. Okay, and there's a couple of ways that these folks can opt in. So if you have your own supply and you'd like to participate, you can call the program supplier or fill out one of the enrollment forms on our program website. That URL is listed at the bottom. It's southbridgecommunityelectricity.com. All right, so there's a couple of different things we did to gear up for this this launch of this program. One of them is the meeting that we're sitting at having right now, also sending out this letter, a postcard, doing a press release, and also working with the town to gather materials out there like social media and flyers. All right, so I'm just going to leave these up on the screen before we open it up to Q&A. So just as a reminder, you don't have to participate in this program. There is never a penalty or a fee to leave this program. And the contacts on the screen at the very top, this is our supplier, Direct Energy, or our program website, Southbridge Community Electricity. Those can help you service changing which product you're enrolled in or opting out of the program entirely. And then for questions that you have for us, the consultant to the program, I have my direct line up here, that 508 number, and we also have a contact form on the program website. All right, I think we can open it up to questions. Let me just get one more person in here. Okay, I think we can take maybe questions in the room first and then go online. Okay. Oh, and I think if you have a question, if you speak into the mic, it'll pick it up on cable access.
Let me ask you about the supplier rates. Do they change summer to winter, or are they fixed for the whole contract?
They're fixed for the whole contract.
So there won't be anything like National Grid, summer rate, winter rate?
No, nope. Stable rate through December of 2027.
All right. And am I understanding it correctly that the town of Southbridge does not manage the plan?
Nope, they authorize the program, but Good Energy manages it along with the program supplier, Direct Energy.
So our contact would be with the,
Yes, it would be with Good Energy.
okay.
Okay, all right. Is this okay?
I think so. I don't
Okay,
know
all
what you can
right.
hear.
So I have a few questions here. If someone opts out of that, can they opt in at any time, or is like this beginning part, is that the deadline for everybody?
Yes, you can opt in or opt out of the program at any time. So if you want to opt out right now and not participate, you can join at any time and those same rates will be available.
Okay, perfect. And then, so will the current price tiers change like at all? Say somebody has opted out, and then they choose to opt in. Are those fixed rates that we're looking at for the 35 months? Is that consistent for everybody, including like new customers?
Yep, all new customers at any time. I'll just put the rates back up on the screen. That's probably the most helpful slide. But these rates don't change for the entire term, January 2025 through December 2027. The supplier does have a right for like really large industrial users or really large commercial users that have big loads. If they're going back and forth, they have the right to offer them a market rate, but they won't do that for like a residential or a home.
Okay, awesome. And then like, so if we opt in now, can we change those tiers like at any time? And those prices are again still the same?
Yep, prices will never change no matter when you want to select a different option or when you want to join the program. I'll just note that you have one meter read a month, so these things happen once a month. So maybe the max you could change would be like once a month until December 2027.
Alrighty. And then, so if this is like, say we go with the Southbridge Plus, which is like the 100% renewable energy, does that mean that like, say my apartment is going to be for that 35-month period powered by completely renewable energy? Or like, how does that work, say, like coming off of like the pole, or like if my neighbors choose something differently?
Sure.
Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so the way that additionality for renewables works is the small premiums in between these options. You're paying a premium to add more renewable energy to your electricity. So that electricity that you're paying for gets put back on the grid on your behalf in the amount of your usage. But we think about it more like an apple pie, and you paid to put a couple more apples in there. But your slice is not necessarily going to your wires. It's all on the ISO New England grid. So that's all of New England, some parts of Eastern Canada. So when you're putting RECs back, or renewable energy credits back on the grid, it's not coming straight to your home, but we think about it as like cleaning the community grid.
Okay, alrighty. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to bend over. My question is, I noticed that direct energy services have different rates that are published that are much higher than what you have sent out on the flyers. What's the reason for their difference in rates? Is this like a come on to get more business, and then once we're in the system, we follow their rates?
Great question. So direct energy also services directly to customers. You could have just a contract specifically with direct energy, but the town of Southbridge went out and created their own contract. And with such a large load, the buying power of an entire community and its businesses and all the electricity accounts, their terms qualify that they will have set rates, these set rates that are on the screen here, for the entire term. So the rates you're probably seeing are just like third-party supplier rates open to anyone, but our contract is on behalf of the town, so anyone in Southbridge can take advantage of these, and you aren't having a direct contact with the supplier. Your contract is
Don't spoil me.
So, so those rates that you're probably seeing are for the direct third-party supplier rates. These program rates have been negotiated by the town, so they're exclusive to the town.
Okay. Direct Energy Services, is their main office out of Rochester, New York? Because I noticed throughout the whole nation, there's a lot of direct energy,
Yes. Yep, so
limited liabilities, and it's hard to tell how they're ranked. Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
yeah, so Direct Energy is a national supplier. What they supply to the New England grid, that team is headquartered in Oklahoma. So the electricity that they're buying and supplying is still coming from the ISO New England grid. So it is still local electricity, but that's just where they're headquartered. So the people that I work with on a daily basis just so happen to live in Oklahoma.
Okay, because I noticed that some of the other direct energy services don't have a very high rating with the Better
Sure.
Business Bureau.
Sure.
But I need to drill down a little bit more so I can find out a little bit more about this.
Yeah,
And-
I'll also just note that because they do third-party suppliers direct to customer or direct to resident or businesses, even the Attorneys General has put out reports, and the nonprofit that we work with, Green Energy Consumers Alliance, have put out reports that these third-party supply contracts can, just as you were saying, they'll have entry rates or they'll have penalties to leave. That is not something that's in our contract, and the town has, of course, reviewed with their attorneys to make sure that this contract is clean, so that we make sure that there's no penalties to leave the program and that these rates are protected.
Okay. And just to reiterate, there are no cancellation or changing fees. If we decide to go back to National Grid, there are no fees at all. We can switch back and forth.
Yes, you can switch back and forth. There are no fees, no penalties to leave or come back.
All right. I think that's it. Thank you.
You get compensated for that?
That's correct.
Okay. So just for anyone online who didn't hear that, the question is about if net metering or compensation for solar on your home cooperates with this program. The answer is absolutely, and I'll explain to you why. So National Grid is your delivery service provider. They're your utility. National Grid is actually the one who's compensating you, and they're compensating you on that 16,055 rate. Because they'll continue to be your utility even when you participate in this program, they are still going to compensate you on the same basic service rate even while you have a separate supplier. So long as National Grid is your utility, your net metering benefits will not change whatsoever.
Okay, so when my solar is feeding back to the grid, will I still get that credit?
Yes.
From direct energy?
So you'll get it from National Grid. So the way we can think about it is you're still being paid the exact same way. So you're compensated whatever the basic service rate is. It's only when you pull from the grid that you're going to actually get any of these Southbridge rates. So it's a good deal. You can see like you'd be getting compensated at a 16-cent rate and maybe paying a 13-cent rate for anything you pull off the grid. So you'll get that on your National Grid bill from National Grid. Direct Energy will just supply whatever you pull from the grid.
Is Direct Energy a U.S. company and regulated by the U.S. government?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any surrounding communities in central Massachusetts, okay, Worcester County, that have subscribed to this service?
Yes, lots. We have a program, it's a little further west, but we have a program in Hadley. We have plenty of programs as we get a little closer to Boston. Trying to think of the map here. But Direct Energy services like maybe 30 to 40% of all of our programs, and we've worked with them for about a decade.
And the town of Southbridge, are they going to Direct Energy for their electrical municipal needs?
They probably already have municipal contracts in place. People have been doing municipal aggregation contracts for town buildings, anything that have like a really consistent electricity load for years. So they probably already have their ongoing contracts, but if they close out, they would be eligible to join the program just as anyone else.
Okay, thank you.
So will this program affect or change fuel assistance?
No, nope, your fuel assistance will come from National Grid, and that is absolutely comparable with the program.
Okay, so it won't like cancel it or anything, or?
Nope,
Okay.
nope, fuel assistance programs work wonderfully with the program. It's still a full discounted rate on the entire bill, including the supply side.
Okay. And will the delivery rate from National Grid change? Will it be affected by this program?
No, so your delivery rate it's kind of like each charge, there's charges on each line, and it's always multiplied by your electricity usage, so it has nothing to do with the supply side. The only way it can change is if you use a different amount of electricity each month.
Okay. The fuel assistance I was talking about is from Worcester Community Action Council. So they help pay for heat and electricity. So that that amount from them will not be affected by the program?
Nope, not at all. You could have a different electricity supplier every month, and it wouldn't affect that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question with the program options in choosing one. Suppose you have no solar at all on your house. Is you go to the website and do you choose basic?
Sure. So all the options will be listed on the enrollment form, basic, standard, and plus, and their rates will be listed there. The only difference between these three options is how much additional renewable energy we add. If you just want the cheapest rate and you want to keep costs as low.
What does that mean? How much renewable energy
Sure.
do I want?
Sure.
Am I jumping off of someone else's solar panels with that, or?
So Green Energy Consumers Alliance, the company that we're partnering with, they actually have all of these projects, like all of these solar farms and wind farms, all throughout New England. So we buy from them. So based on your usage, we let them know how much you use. And if you're in like the plus option, they're delivering up to 100% of those RECs. So we're just telling them what your usage is, and they're putting those RECs back on the grid. So the small premiums in there is paying for a little bit of extra wind power or a little bit of extra solar power to come from your usage. So it's kind of like it's purely a subjective thing. So you can choose if you want to add that in there, or you can go with the basic and just pay the exact cheapest option that we have.
Just one more question. I went on the web to the Southbridge Community Electricity to sign up, just to get the form. And there's a note here that says, if you are a new industrial customer or have previously opted out of the program, the supplier has the option to offer a market rate. What does that mean? Does that mean you can, what if you opt out of this program, come back in and or want to get back into the program? It says opt out of the program or the supplier has the option to offer a market rate. Does that mean if we get back into the program, do they change the rate on us? Or is it, or is this a one-time deal
Nope,
that
not
you've
a,
negotiated?
no, not a one-time deal. You can leave the program and come back. All these rates will still be available to you. What that disclaimer means is that if you're a large industrial customer, so if you have a massive load that's maybe equal to half the town, if you're coming back and forth, that's kind of a big liability for the company. So if you run like some kind of industrial facility and you go back and forth, they could, upon return, maybe your second, third, fourth time, and say, okay, now we have to offer you a market rate because this is a liability for the program. But we've actually never seen them execute this, but we do have to put that disclaimer in there because you may be running a secret facility that we don't know about.
I don't know.
Just to be clear, you can leave the program, return to the program, and these rates will still be there. That disclaimer is just for large industrial customers.
Is Direct Energy a publicly traded company or is it a private company?
Good question. I'm not sure. I can get back to you on that. I do know that they're a national supplier and that they have different divisions, so maybe they're big Direct Energy is, but the Direct Energy we work with is just working on the ISO New England grid.
Because that could answer a lot of questions too.
Okay,
You can
sure.
find out more about them.
Yeah, come see me afterward and I can give you my contact information. I can get back to you.
Okay.
Hi, I just wanted a bit of clarification on the Southbridge Plus option. When you say up to 100%, does that mean that that number could be less than 100%?
Sure. Yep. So, no, it'll always be 100% when I say up to. So there is a state standard that every generator has to meet. For the year of 2024, it's 63%. So what Green Energy Consumers Alliance and the Plus option is doing is closing the gap between the 63 and 100. So I say up to because they're adding up, up to the total 100. So it's always 100%.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm just going to look online, see if they've got questions on there. Okay, awesome. So there might be a little feedback, but I'm going to let the folks online, if you have questions. I see Joe Tyson has a question. If you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Allison, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I apologize if the question is redundant. You can opt in and opt out as a homeowner as frequently as you choose.
Yep, that's right. You can leave the program, rejoin the program as many times as you'd like.
Okay, one other quick question. So does this mean, you work for Direct Energy, and does this mean the town can only, like if another entity came into town, would they be able to negotiate a price with the town also? With the town's people?
Yep, absolutely. So the rates that we have contracted go through December of 2027. Once that term is up, we'll go back out to bid and they'll have their fair game selection again at all of the qualified suppliers so they could choose a different one other than Direct Energy next time. And I know it's a little confusing, but just to be clear, if you see any of my contact info, we're at Good Energy and we're the consultant to the town. So we'll always consult with the town even through the bidding process after this term is over.
But just to be clear, the town can't negotiate, the townspeople can't negotiate with another supplier until 2027?
Individually, anyone can choose a different supplier at any time through this process, but as a town, like for these rates that the town negotiated, we can't negotiate new rates until December of 2027. You, as your own electricity, homeowner, you could negotiate rates with any competitive supplier, but the town has selected Direct Energy until December of 2027.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions online? Okay, so one question is, what's the possible downside of this program? So I don't think there's any, but I'll just note that this program is not for everyone. If you're someone who likes to shop around for their electricity and you keep an eye on the prices and you like to change every few months, this is a pretty stable program. Rates are not going to change. Might not be for you if you're someone who likes to shop around on like Energy Switch MA. That's a reason that some people don't participate. One question is there a certain number of people who have to participate in order for the program to go forward? Nope. So in our contract with Direct Energy, there is no minimum amount of participation for them to honor these rates. So we could have as little as one or as many as every electricity customer in town participating. Okay, and I think we answered this question, but I'll just reiterate again that this does not affect any of the solar benefits that you currently receive if you participate in net metering or community shared solar. It does not impact your benefits. Do you have a question?
Yes. So the cards that were mailed out, were they just mailed out to homeowners or to every National Grid customer?
Anyone who is on National Grid as their supplier. So if you look at your bill, and your National Grid bill, and it says National Grid as your supplier, every one of those folks got a letter. If you have someone else listed as your supplier, we did not send a letter because you'd not be eligible to be automatically enrolled, but those folks can still absolutely participate.
So in our house, we should have received 4 letters or 4 postcards. We received 1 to the owner of the property. Person I work with didn't receive 1. The other question is, this is a public meeting, and I went on the town website. It's not posted as an agenda or a meeting. So yes, you sent out cards, but any meeting, yes, it's not a town of Southbridge meeting, but it was negotiated through the town of Southbridge. So it should have been posted, in my knowledge, on the town website.
Sure. So the bidding
that
process,
violates open meeting law to me, so.
the bidding process, actually getting this plan approved and submitted to the Department of Public Utilities, was a public hearing, and it did happen. I believe we had it both virtually and in person, and that was a part of a council meeting. But this is not a public hearing. This is just a public meeting. So it doesn't need to be doesn't need to be necessarily made public as for a hearing, but we'll certainly record this and make sure that we get it up on both the town and the program website.
So the opt-out form is where is that on the website? On the Southbridge community website, not the town website?
Right. Yep. So there's a couple different ways. So there's the program website, or you could call the program supplier, Direct Energy. They'd be able to do that over the phone.
Okay.
Great. Yep. There's also a link on the town website.
Okay.
Okay. I don't see any other questions online. All right. Well, please feel free to come and see me with questions, or if you'd like to, show me a copy of your bill and ask questions, I'm happy to help. You can contact Good Energy directly, as well as Direct Energy. They'll be able to answer all your questions about the program. And December 14th, just a reminder, is the opt-out deadline if you want to opt out and never participate in the program. Thanks, everyone.